Welcome to the show. Welcome to Your Thought Life podcast. I am your host, Michael Anderson. If you enjoy this content on a regular basis, do consider leaving us a rating and a review to help us grow the channel so that we can reach more people seeking this style of content. Thank you very much. Today, we're going to jump into the overthinking loop and how to break it. Most people on a daily basis often enter into what we have coined analysis paralysis. This is, in effect, overthinking, and it puts us in this sort of mental hamster wheel that keeps us stuck in the same space, spinning through and conjuring up all sorts of worries and doubts, hypotheticals and what ifs. And all of these activities are the essence of overthinking, and they keep us stuck, prevent us from moving forward. This loop, moreover, can drain our energy, and it clouds our judgment, and it robs us of our peace. We only have a finite amount of emotional capital for the day, and when we find ourselves in this overthinking pattern, it most certainly takes a toll on that limited resource that we have. Science tells us that overthinking activates the brain's default mode network, which is responsible for self-referential thoughts as well as rumination. Both of these are centered on the negative spectrum, low-level vibrations, survival, if you will. And when this specific network gets engaged and begins to be overactive, this is when things get really ugly, which leads to things like anxiety, depression, indecision. And the more we find ourselves presented with this, the more this becomes automatic behavior. And for many of us, we've been in this mode for so long, we don't even understand all of the triggers and such that are present that are weighing in and creating this nightmare. So we're going to deal with this today. I think we've captured in the intro a very good snapshot of the impact that this is having on our lives. I want to ask you a question. Why is overthinking holding you back? What is it in your given day, in your set of circumstances, that you keep seeing this replaying like theater in your lives? For most, overthinking often masquerades as a careful planning or a deep set of considerations. Some might even refer to it like I used to as garnering all of the facts. But for many of us, if we're honest, it's really a form of mental procrastination. It creates a false sense of control by endlessly analyzing every possible outcome. And this prevents us from moving forward and making any sort of measurable progress. There's a striking statistic that reveals that people who overthink are 50% less likely to take risks or seize opportunities. That's a big number. This sort of hesitation costs valuable time, it costs us our growth, and it costs us, unfortunately, the forfeiture of our dreams, our goals, and our aspirations. And as a famous writer and philosopher, Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "Do not be too timid and squeamish about your actions. All life is an experiment. Overthinking stops you from experimenting and learning." Take that to heart. Take some time to do some introspection and gain an appreciation for what is that pattern? What is that trigger? What are those circumstances that put you in this overthinking mode? Write that down in your journal, because breaking free from overthinking is not something that you haphazardly do. You got to be real intentional about this, and you need some strategies and some practical steps. And so let's jump into that. Let's give you some things that you can add to your chest, your toolkit. So when the time of need comes, you can recall this information and put it to action. Number one, we need to first recognize when you're overthinking. Awareness is the first step in all of our self development activities and all of the things in the mindset space that come in and act as barriers, that act as resistance, that put us in some sort of state or manifest for us behaviors that don't work for us. Awareness is the first step. Awareness is the first step. Notice when your thoughts start to spiral or when you're stuck in analysis paralysis. Write that down. Document it. There's some sort of event, there's some sort of trigger, there's some sort of memory that has taken place that you can use to act as an interrupt to stop the pattern long enough for you to make a decision to do something different. Labeling the behavior helps you to interpret it, but if you don't know what it is, you can't label it. So we need to heighten our sense of awareness and start thinking about what we're thinking about, especially in critical moments like this, when overthinking is trying to seize us in such a way that it prevents us from moving forward. Number two, we need to set time limits for decisions. What's that mean? When you're in the process of overthinking, this can be a duration that never ends. Because if you're trying to consider every single set of circumstances that could go wrong, if you are doing the what if game and you're trying to make sure that you know how to handle every one of those possibilities, if you're like me and you're collecting all of the facts and you find one little sliver of something that you don't know or you haven't collected data points on inside and out, this can go on for weeks and months and for some people years. That's not acceptable. We have to set a limit for the decision. You give yourself a deadline to make a decision, collect as much information as you can, get 80% of the way there and be satisfied to now have enough data to move forward. And that's inside of a window. For some people, it's going to literally depend on the size of the task, the dream, the aspiration. But at the end of the day, you need get started energy. And the best way for you to garner that is to do what we talked about. And number one, understand that those arenas that cause you to overthink, and if this is one of them, next thing you do is you're setting a hard timetable as to how long it's going to take. It should be reasonable, right? It should be, in some cases, maybe hours, a few days, depending on the size, but it's not endless. It stops, and at the point where the time has expired, family, we must take action. We must execute. This creates a very healthy pressure and prevents the endless ruminating. That's when we're thinking about the wrong thing, those things in negative vibrational zones that keep us literally grounded in this overthinking model. Then, after we have set a limit for the decision to make that decision, then we want to focus on what we can control. I speak to so many people who have such a difficult time with this and ruminate and do what if scenarios and just really put themselves through some paces emotionally and psychologically that are not needed. Why? Because they're trying to deal with circumstances that they cannot control. We want to shift our attention to actions within our control rather than worrying about uncertain outcomes, all of the variables, what someone may say or think. None of those things matter. What matters is we chart a course or develop a set of goals, break those goals down into manageable components or tasks, and then start this process if this is one of the areas where we have difficulty with overthinking. we must, and I do mean that we must take small steps and allow that momentum to build so that we can do what it is we desire to do. And we don't have to consider all of those things that are outside of our control, because life is going to keep lifing. And to the extent that remains a certainty, you just have to know that when you put this plan together, there are going to be things that are going to interject themselves into your equation, and you didn't necessarily have everything ready for those. You're going to have to deal with those ad hoc from a position of, I know this was going to happen. I'm not going to get emotionally bent over it. I'm going to evaluate the situation. I'm going to make a plan for it. I'm going to execute the plan and get back on track. This is how we deal with this. And then finally, to put the whipped cream and the cherry on top, I want you to begin to lean in and embrace imperfection and failure. You have to accept that mistakes are a part of growth. Overthinking often stems from fear of failure. When you take the approach that we've outlined, fearful of failure, because we know that is an academic model. We know that things are going to pop up that could skew our plan. We know we only got to 80%, so there's a 20% that's going to show up anyway. And with that much information, there are certainly going to be some opportunities for us to do things differently, to grow through this rather than see this as a failure. Seeing it as a failure is the academic model. We don't do that as adults. As adults, we chalk up, we come to a conclusion, which part of this plan worked, check those boxes. For the 2, the 4, or however many boxes that didn't get checked or were stopped before we could execute the rest, we look at what took place. We work our way through it. We appreciate the level of clarity that we have to be able to stop now, garner some additional information specific to one problem, and then execute and then get back on track. This is personal development at its finest. And then when we find ourselves acting in this way, behaving this way, we're able to then see everything that we do in a given day has purpose, has meaning. And to the extent that we expose ourselves to this type of growth is a fantastic characteristic. Of all the things that I've ever done, my personal development journey is at the absolute pinnacle for creating all of the things that I now enjoy in my life and all of the accomplishments that I have under my belt. These 4 items will serve you well. And so begin to think through how you can begin to implement these or store them away for the time of need, and be thinking about how you're going to implement them into your situation. There's a study in the Journal of Anxiety Disorders that found that mindfulness-based interventions like this significantly reduce rumination and improve decision-making by 50+%. Earlier, we said that there was overthinking, or overthinkers are 50% less likely to take risk or seize opportunity. We've just canceled that out by utilizing this methodology. So breaking the overthinking loop frees you to take action, to learn from your experiences and grow. So I trust that this was helpful for you and that you will enact it ASAP. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Feel free to connect with us through Linktree. The link is available in the show notes. You are enough. You can do it, and you are uniquely equipped to realize your goals. Until next time, take care and stop overthinking.